Hi everyone, my name is Maggie Calvert and I am a senior political science, philosophy, and gender studies major, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm really excited to be participating in this event and I'm really appreciative that the Women's Center decided to continue with it. I think it's really important that we talk about disability in a society that is so deeply ableist in so many ways. So, what does it mean to live with a disability in today's America? Well, for me, it's been a double edged sword because when you look at me, I don't seem like I'm disabled. I don't fit the character of being disabled. Um, a lot of you watching this probably know that I am disabled because you're my friends, and it's a very widely known fact about me when people get to know me, because the disability does come out from time to time for other people to see. It's invisible until it's not, and when it starts to take over, everybody gets to see it because I do fall down quite a lot. Being disabled has kind of put three different themes in my life. The first being compromised autonomy and struggling with having control over it, strains on my relationships, and feeling like I'm in an in between. And that kind of encompasses both of the first two themes. So, my first theme is compromised autonomy. So, I think this is something that a lot of disabled people can relate to. A lot of other people think that they know better, or that because their friend has your disability, or they know somebody with the disability, or they Googled it before, they can tell you how to manage your symptoms or manage your disability. So a common question I get a lot is, have you been to a doctor? Have you gone to the doctor before about this? Yes, I've seen a lot of doctors, I've seen a lot of specialists, and they're very expensive. It's been very difficult the past 5 years to keep up with my medical bills, to the point that they've turned into debt and my credit score is shit because of it. So I've been to doctors, they haven't given me a diagnosis, they haven't been super helpful in the past 5 years, so I'm working on it, but there have been times in my life where I take breaks from doctors because it's not my favorite place to be. Another question I get a lot is, have you tried drinking more water? Do you drink a lot of water? I drink a lot of water and I have a very small bladder, so it's difficult having a disability that requires a lot of water because I have a very, very small bladder and it's hard to control sometimes. But water also isn't the cure to every disability or every issue that you have. So water doesn't fix everything. Um, Another thing I get is, can you drive? Yeah, I can drive. I'm able to do normal people things. My disability only affects certain parts of my life. Um, Another thing that a lot of people have said to me is, you should really focus on your health right now. You shouldn't be so involved. And for those of you who know me, you know that I'm super involved in SGA and FMLA and the Debate Society, and I've passed out at all of these places. And it's okay for me to pass out and live my life. It's okay for me to be involved because these things aren't necessarily correlated with each other. Just because I'm overly involved doesn't mean that I'm passing out because of it. I think the worst thing that someone has said to me, and it was said by a trusted adult in a position that they were supposed to be supporting me, is, have you thought about how your friends are taking this? Have you thought about how you're affecting them? And this is something that I think about all the time, and I don't think that this person meant to be malicious. They were just trying to help me see the perspective of other people, but it's stuck with me for a long time since they said that, and I still get very upset thinking about how this person told me that I'm a burden to my friends because of my disability, and I need to be thinking about them before I'm really considering the way that I'm affecting my own life with my own disability. So that brings me to my second theme of strained relationships. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not the easiest person to be friends with, for not just my disability. My friends watching this know that I am controlling and kind of a know it all, even though I do know a lot of things, and you all come to me for advice, so you can't tell me that I don't know things. But that, along with the disability, it can make it hard to be my friend and to be around me. Having the disability kind of has an added layer to my friendship that, it takes a little bit more effort to be my friend sometimes. There's safety plans in place. You have to know what to do if I pass out or if I have a seizure. It's also not easy to watch someone you care about have a seizure, and I completely empathize with that, and I understand that it's scary and it can be really traumatizing for people. But I always check on my friends after. I always ask them if they're okay, and I always apologize to them. And they always tell me you don't have to apologize, and I know that I shouldn't be apologizing, but we live in a society that has made me and so many other disabled people feel like they're a burden for needing a little bit of extra care or a little bit of accommodations, that I say I'm sorry for something that I have no control. Both of these things have kind of brought me to this weird feeling of being in between. I feel like I'm too healthy to be considered chronically ill because I'm too high functioning, but at the same time, I feel like I'm too chronically ill to exist in a society that is so ableist and always making me feel like a burden for needing a little bit of extra support to exist. So, living with a disability in today's America is definitely difficult, and I think being in an in between is the best way to summarize living with a disability, especially an invisible disability in an ableist society. Thanks for listening.
Hello, my name is Kelsey DeClaudio, and first off, I just want to thank the Women's Center for giving me this platform and opportunity to share a little bit about my experiences as a disabled person in America. So I should probably explain a little bit about why I personally identify as disabled. So I have something called tethered cord syndrome. This has required me to get 5 surgeries throughout my life. They were all at different points in my life, and each one of these surgeries resulted in nerve damage, which results in loss of mobility, function, sensation. And as a result of all 5 of these surgeries, by the last surgery, I was an incomplete paraplegic. I have a neurogenic bowel, a neurogenic bladder, which basically means they don't work right. And I also have chronic pain in my legs and in my back. So with that out of the way, I can really get into what it's really like to live as a disabled person in America. And the reason I don't really like to spend too much time on the reason I'm disabled and how I became disabled is because I've noticed a lot in media they like to utilize disabled stories and traumatic stories as inspiration for able-bodied people. And this is something called inspiration porn. You can look it up to get a little bit more info on it, but it's basically just the phenomenon of disabled stories being used as overcoming disability stories to inspire disabled or able-bodied people to stop making excuses, because look at these inspiring disabled people doing all these things despite their disabilities. So yeah, that's why I don't really like to spend too much time on the reason I'm disabled and my hospital stories and stuff like that. So just to go into a little bit more in depth into just my personal experiences, and I like to also point out that these experiences are from, the privilege I have as a white cisgendered woman. So it's important to recognize that. So yeah. So day to day, each day you wake up, you're going to wake up in a world that wasn't made for you. So each day you have to adapt, and you learn to master certain skills, obviously. But there are days where it's harder than other days. And I think the media needs to portray more real stories like that show that yes, you can master skills and you can learn to accept and live with this, and even do amazing things that you never would have done if you were able-bodied or when you were able-bodied. But it also needs to show the real side, the bad days, the days where it really bothers you when, you're getting stared at, or when people come up to you and ask you inappropriate questions. When you go to the grocery store and you can't reach the things you need and you have to ask for help, even though you're independent. It becomes easy at times to internalize those things. And you know, there are days where I'm so very proud to be disabled and it really feels like I got this. But other days it gets hard, and I think it's okay to say that. And it's okay to say, yeah, I'm so very proud of being disabled and I'm proud every day to be disabled. But that doesn't mean it doesn't get hard at times. Like I said, I have a neurogenic bowel and bladder. You know, a lot of the times people only see the wheelchair and they think I only can't walk, but there's so much more that goes into it. And whether you have a visible or invisible disability, you know, you're gonna face stigma and you're gonna face stereotypes and discrimination, and the architectural and the attitudinal barriers out there are very prevalent. And you learn about a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about the world, and you learn a lot about the people around you. And I really think I'm grateful for all of the great experiences that I've had as a disabled person, and I never would have been able to experience so many things if it wasn't for this disability. So, you know, I really like to recognize that too, not just all the hardships, but you know, I like to be realistic about it too. This is going to be a continued journey for me, and I know it's not always going to be easy. But at the end of the day, I know I'm going to go to sleep disabled and I'm going to wake up disabled. And, you know, I have to be okay with that. And I am. So, anyway, thank you to the Women's Center for giving me this opportunity. I also want to mention that I am a Slippery Rock student. I am a double major in recreational therapy and gender studies. And I also play sled hockey for the women's U.S. national team. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Hi,
Bye.
my name is Eric Knotts, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to share. I am a bilateral above knee amputee. I lost my legs. I contracted bacterial meningitis at 18 months old. And from a very young age, I had a lot of support from my family growing up with a disability, but they also taught me from a very young point on that I needed to do things for myself on my own and figure out my way in doing that. And I think that has been a great help to me living in America with a disability. Every day with a disability is going to provide new challenges. Some you're ready for, some you're not. But you just have to learn how to take those. You can adapt and figure out your way through, or you can let those tear you down. And that's a choice that you have to make each and every time. And it's an uphill battle, and you don't win all the battles. You have your losses. Some of the other barriers or obstacles that you have to overcome are a little bit less direct, but socially there's a lot of things that you have to deal with on a daily basis. The looks you get from people, the stares, comments that the people that are saying them don't think you hear, but you do. I try to have a sense of humor about it, just because you kind of have to. I ignore a lot of it. I've over the years grown a blind eye to most of the staring and pointing. But some of the comments I just think I have to take with a little bit of sense of humor, because if not, then they might get to me. I think one of my hardest obstacles that I've had to overcome is growing up and getting to the age of, middle school or hitting puberty, and trying to play sports with my friends from school, and realizing that, that wasn't really going to be possible for all that much longer. But luckily I've had a great opportunity to play sled hockey, and a great group of friends that I've made from playing sled hockey, and also learning how to adapt in different ways from my friends from sled hockey who also have disabilities. That's my experience, or how I have overcome some of the obstacles of having a disability in America.